Hey everybody, Rob from FLX Bike. If you're seeing this video, that means you are the proud owner of a Blade 2.0. We're absolutely thrilled with this bike. However, there are two things I need to talk to you about today. This is a very important maintenance advisory. We've had a few reports of an issue with the Blade that I wanted to tell you about now. Very simple fix to this, but let's get right into it. The issue is, if you come over to this display bike we have here, and we've had 4 reported cases of this so far. I've sent out a video in Facebook, but we're sending this out to everybody else who hasn't seen it yet. What's happened is the nut here on this bolt has come a little bit loose, and if that happens, the nut can extend and push against the lock ring of the roll-off hub. So if that nut does go through and push into the lock ring, obviously it's going to get in the way, and that's not going to be good. So the bike will still be able to roll forward with no power. It's not going to launch anybody off the bike. However, it will stop the belt in the drivetrain from moving. So it can cause things like a snapped belt, or obviously cause assisted riding to completely halt. So that is not good by any means whatsoever. The solution to that right now, what I need you to do is go to your Blade and inspect this bolt very closely. Among the other ones, what we're gonna do, you'll need a 6mm Allen key and tighten this thing up. The nut is in a slot here, so you won't need a tool on the other side. Just make sure the nut is inside the slot and tighten it up just about as much as you can by hand without causing damage to the nut. I will send the official torque spec for that in the email along with this video. So after you tighten it up, please have a look in here and make sure there is clearance between the nut and the lock ring. Because of how these are made, the tolerances are extremely tight on these things. And what we're doing now is we are sourcing a shorter nut and bolt that's going to allow for another 1 to 1.5 millimeters of clearance here. So after you've torqued this down and tightened it, you may see that it's still very close. So what we're going to do is we're going to source those nuts and send you a new nut that you can replace this with. To replace it, it's super easy. Just loosen it up, pull the nut out, stick the new nut in. You may have a new bolt from us as well. Tighten that up and you're set to go. So that is issue number 1, which we have had reported problems of. The other one is a question that's come up. There's been no issues with it yet, but I wanted you to know exactly what's going on with the hub, and more specifically the oil for the hub. So when you received your Blade, there's a load of documentations for the different parts, one of which is the roll-off speed hub, which we're super excited about using. There is a warning in here about the all-season oil for the roll-off speed hub. Some folks have been asking us questions. Does it come included with the speed hub oil? Because this note says that it doesn't have the oil in it. What we've been doing, I've been confirming with not only our production manager, our suppliers, the distributors of the roll-off speed hub, and eventually even went on to roll-off for more information. What we found out is that when we got the roll-off speed hub, they did not come included with the speed hub oil. They were assembled, shipped to you with no oil inside of it. I just about had a heart attack when I found that out. I was on the phone, I was almost screaming at people about this, because as you know, this is one of the most important parts of the Blade 2.0, and to hear that it didn't come with the oil that it's supposed to have, that really freaked me out. I was worried about you having damage to your hub after riding it with no oil. What we did actually is we just went all the way up the chain to roll-off themselves. We've been talking with them back and forth, and when we explained it to them, they basically laughed at us and said it's not an issue. The gears do come with lubrication on them. The all-season oil will help in extremely low temperature environments and also helps reduce noise and increase the longevity of the bike if water's to get in it, etc. It does cover the gears in oil. So as of now, you've had the bike a couple of weeks. It's not going to be an issue at all. What we're going to do though is send you out that oil, a full kit. So if you want, you'll be able to add a cleaning solution to the hub, drain that out, and fill it with the all-season oil. Otherwise, just stick the all-season oil in it. But we'll have a tutorial video for that. It's super simple. All you need to do, and you're welcome to take this to a bike shop too. We'll cover the expenses up to a certain amount. Loosen this bolt, put in the cleaning fluid, put it back in, ride it for like 1 mile, turn it upside down, drain the cleaning oil, and then put the all-season oil in it, and you're set to go. So very, very simple procedure. Won't take more than like an hour total if you really take your time with it. Again, this was an unforeseen thing with the blade, so I can't apologize enough that if it does come as a surprise to you, but I want you to not worry about this at all. Roll off. The German manufacturers of this hub have confirmed that it's not an issue. We're gonna get you that oil, and when you can get it in, please do that. That's going to prolong the life of your hub and make it quieter, and maybe even make it shifting a little bit smoother. So guys, last thing, in terms of just general bike maintenance for the bike, since we're already here, it would be a very wise idea, not just for the Blade 2.0, but for any bike you ride, especially after you get it and put 50 or 100 miles on it. Give the bike a good once over and check every bolt on the bike, especially the very critical ones. And I'll show you which ones those are to kind of check first. Make sure those are tight and that nothing's worked itself loose, especially if you're doing some mountain riding, things like that. So one very important one is the bolts on the chain spider. This should be, I believe, a 5mm key. We're just gonna check each of those, make sure they're very tight on there. If one of these were to come loose, the reason this is so important is if it comes loose, it can cause this chain ring to come out of alignment with the belt. And with this belt, of course, we want everything to be straight on. So it's super important that these are always tight. This is a good one you're gonna wanna check every couple 100 miles, especially if you ride aggressively and off-road. So we've got that. A very common one with any bike or electric bikes especially too is the crank bolt. This is an 8mm bolt. And look at that, I've got some room there. So to really crank that one down, I find coming over it, you can push down on one and pull up on the other. And the official torque spec for this one is like 45 to 50 Newton meters. You do have a torque wrench. If you don't, just put some muscle into it, but not so much that it could damage a bolt. Do the same thing on the other side as well. Other bolts, of course, the ones I showed you earlier. We've got this one for the split in the frame. The ones for the brakes are very important. These, it's very rare for them to come loose, but if it does, it's such an important part of the bike. We do want to make sure those are tight. Keep in mind, if it's not loose, do not loosen them because it will change the placement of your brake calipers. The other very important one, the brakes. You're going to make sure these are tight. Keep in mind, this is a plastic part, the holding the brake levers on, so you don't want to over tighten those. Definitely not. Don't put too much muscle into this, but make sure they're tight on there. The other thing is the stem. So we've got a stem plate. This is something that you assembled yourself when you put the bike together. They generally don't work themselves loose, but it's a good one to check. And there's also one under the display holding the stem cap on, and two in the rear that hold the stem to the steerer tube. Make sure those don't get loose. These ones generally don't work themselves loose, but it's good to check, especially because if, for example, these ones were to get loose, your handlebars can tweak in one direction or the other, and that's definitely not going to be good when you're riding off-road. We've got brakes in the front, another good one to check, the mount here. And apart from that, Jason, our e-bike expert, any other ones? There's the ones that hold the motor on. Why don't we check those out on this side? There's 3 more, these bolts that hold the motor on. Again, these ones generally, I rarely see them come loose, but good to check as well. All right guys, so that's everything I wanted to show you for today for the blade. The 2 main things is that 1 bolt, making sure that's not going to extend into your lock ring. If you have had that happen to you and you're not in contact with us already, hello@flx.bike is the email. Also the oil, and we're going to send you both the oil and a new nut or new set of hardware for the back there in the coming week or 2. Right now we're waiting on the oil and the hardware to come in. As soon as it's in, we're going to send it to you along with a tutorial video on how to change both the nut and the oil. So you can expect that from us in the coming days. In the meantime, please check at least that nut. You can feel free to ride if you do have the clearance there. Don't worry about the oil. Again, Rohloff has given us a big 2 thumbs up and green light as far as riding it and using it until you do get the oil. So thank you guys for your patience with this. It is a new product and we're learning things as we go, but you are absolutely our top priority, making sure that the bike performs exactly how you imagine it. Thank you again for your support, guys, and enjoy the ride.